used to him being that loud.
Okay, I don't know.
He would come and do stuff.
He has grandkids over. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Greg, you're live.
I should be I should be, but I don't see there I am.
We are streaming.
All right, we will call this meeting, a regularly scheduled meeting of the Calvert City Board of Adjustments to order at 5:30 on April 26th. First item up on our agenda is approval of our minutes from the March 29th special call meeting.
I've read the minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve them.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye, that's all of us, so those pass. All right, and that brings us to our favorite topic and our favorite person. Come on down, Chip. Tell us what you got.
There we go.
We're not mad at you.
It's not good if they're not mad at you.
I guess that's true. Wanted to come back this week or this
Why don't
month.
you go ahead and put your name on the record?
Yeah,
Of course,
William
we-
C. Adams III, attorney for Megafit Mills. Mr. Dietz is here today, and last month when I was here, I had misunderstood, and really the loading dock that we've been talking about, what type it was has been a little bit fluid, and I misspoke last month when it was going to be an in-ground loading dock. Rather, it's going to be a loading dock consistent with what they've been doing now, a concrete pad and a place to unload trucks from the back. And I believe that would be in compliance as long as it's dimensionally correct. There were also some issues that were discussed last time as to the exact location of where that is. Based upon the drawings, I think it was subject to some interpretation. So Mr. Bobby Dietz of BFW is here again to show an exact location of where that will be going. I'm going to ask him to do that. In addition, there is what's going to be next to that loading dock is going to be a box crusher that will be installed with some degree, which will alleviate the need for the long dumpster there and the cardboard boxes that tend to fill it up, and that will keep things contained. That's something that will not be out where the roll-on, roll-off trash can is, but instead it will be up against the building and up in that area next to that loading area. Even though we do not have the formal conditional use permit paperwork in front of you at this point in time, my clients are ready to put that loading dock, loading pad area in advance of that. And they were ready to start the first week of April. And I told them, don't do that just yet. Let's go ahead and wait and see. If it's not a situation where we want to ask for forgiveness, we'd rather ask for permission, but would like to go ahead to proceed with the installation of that loading pad dock area within the confines. And as far as you've looked at the dimensions on how big it needs to be.
Well, it'd probably be around 15 feet wide.
Okay.
We have about 18 feet from the end of the building to the property line.
Which is all on level ground. That's before the slope down into the.
Yeah, so the loading dock's gonna be a concrete slab. Is what's gonna be. They're gonna take out the HVAC equipment. We're gonna put an overhead door in the end of the building. So the truck will just back up to the corner of the building. There'll be a concrete slab. And they just use roller conveyor. They just put the box on, roll them down, and they load it up the same way. They got a conveyor that carries the boxes up. It'd be exactly what they do right now. Right now, they don't have a 4-foot tall loading dock.
Right.
They just use a conveyor.
That goes in basically the front door of the building, right through basically an eating area. Or a meeting.
So these will just unload to the slab, and then they'll stack them and pick them up and put them inside the building, or if it's outgoing, exactly the same way.
Okay, and this is where the FedEx truck will sit, the one that stays on site. It's swapped
Probably,
out.
there'll be a trailer in that area, but with other, this is going to be intended for all unloading and unloading.
Now, this loading dock is not going into the building, it's going to the side of it here.
Yeah, it's just be a concrete slab at the end of the building.
And then they're altering the end of the building to put a roll-up door and a,
Yeah, so when you hear the word loading dock, you're thinking about something that's 4 foot tall. That's not what this is. It's just it's called a loading and unloading space. That's where the truck's gonna sit. It's gonna unload to the concrete slab, and then they'll take it inside the building or load it in the truck.
And so I guess maybe one question I would have Greg or John is, I know that the ordinance is that there's a loading docks required for buildings over X square foot, I think 12,000. Is it, do we define what a loading dock is in anywhere?
Yeah,
And what is that for our benefit?
The dimensions of the door, I don't have it in front of me. I'm actually sitting in Texas right now. And the dimensions I don't have, but the required dimensions are in the ordinance. And I know that there's a height and width dimension of the opening into the building. I don't know that the floor, John, have you looked at that recently? Is it required?
I've got it right here, Greg. It's-
Thank you.
ahead.
I see, and this is in paragraph E, off-street loading and unloading requirements. Loading and unloading space is what it calls it, shall be 12 by 50 feet with a 14-foot high clearance and shall be designated with appropriate means of truck access to a street or alley, as well as having adequate moving area.
It doesn't specify that it needs to have a
specified dock.
It
dock
specifies the
itself. It
space.
just says a space.
Okay.
Now, is there an issue? And I want, before we get going, before we say that, is there an issue? I know that they're actually on the backside with the truck, but the actual dock door or the loading door is on the north side or the side. Is that an issue?
That's a heck of a good question, because I think the requirement is that the loading dock or the loading facility be located at the rear of the building. Can somebody lay their eyes on the words?
I can show you where it's at
Chip's looking.
if you want me to. It's in section 8. Got it?
Yes, with the exception of I-1 and I-2 districts, such loading and unloading facilities shall be located at the rear of the commercial buildings and shall not interfere with primary customer parking spaces or streets.
That was the only, I wondered about that. I wasn't sure if that was.
Well, this loading space is required to be at the rear. It doesn't say anything about the door. And I've always, just not knowing the history of the ordinances, wondered why the I-1 and I-2 is given a preferential where they can put a loading dock anywhere or loading space anywhere.
I have to say that's because they're not normally around
And there's
residential.
factories.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
they're factories out in the middle of nowhere.
Big. large-
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Big, large factories. Where they make chemicals.
Right.
So I guess one other thing
Space
is,
is actually at the rear.
I was gonna say one other
Truck is
thing,
sitting at the rear, right? And
and this just may be the drawing, Mr. Dietzen. I mean, I'm not holding you to for the drawing, but where it says 18, where the two 18s are, the middle row of parking there. Do you intend to put curbs, for lack of a better word, where, the two end caps are for, I guess, end cap, lack of a better word as well. And I would want to make sure that, it's just a drawing thing where your tire is crossing over that if you're making that turn out versus
You
are they
talking about
gonna?
the striped island?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was just gonna be a striped island.
Okay. It's not gonna be a curb or
No.
grass or anything like that. Got it.
So have they made changes to their, whatever's going on inside the building that's going to make them not feel the need to unload their morning load out to the southwest
To the
corner,
Dairy Queen side.
right?
Well, that is something that I have talked with Billy Giorgio extensively after every meeting that we've had, and he says, I have instructed he refers to it, but his main employee, that's needs to stop. It needs to happen here. It certainly doesn't need to happen in the fire department space. After speaking with Mr. Ward today, it's my understanding that has happened. Mr. Giorgio was extremely upset that it had happened and had spoken with his main person, who said he had not observed that, and they want to go back through their video and find out exactly when that happened, so that person can be held accountable for allowing that to happen.
I think we can come up with dates on that.
Yes, that's, and, we've talked about the risk of that happening over the past several months, but this is the first time that I think we've had a specific incident. And he was extremely concerned about that and frustrated. And his lawyer was with me. So.
And this isn't related at all, Squirrel, to this particular truck, but can you refresh me, at least me, Chip, of the trailers outside, the ones in the front corner, like the freezer trailers?
Yes,
How many do they intend to have total?
The goal is 2 to 3, and after evaluating the propriety of doing a building add-on, I think screening, much like a dumpster screening, is going to be a much more effective way to do that, for a variety of reasons. That's one of the things, the plan next month is we'd like to have that loading facility pad poured, ready to go, where that can already be in place and working. A trash compactor sitting next to it to resolve the box issues, and then have some ideas on the screening for those freezers, as well as the aesthetic things on the Oak Park Boulevard side. And again, if I hadn't told them to stop already, you'd have probably had a concrete pad poured the first week of April.
I don't remember. I do remember it. I just can't think of the architect guy. I was gonna say,
Josh
what about the
Vernon.
front? Yeah, Josh. How's the front of the building going with what?
Well, he's putting together some ideas. I haven't seen any schematics there. He's been rather busy with another major project that's going on in Murray right now that I've had some work with. So, but we're on the list.
Well, back to I don't know if they talked to you earlier or not, but as recently as this morning, they was unloaded by the fire department.
Okay, so it's this morning.
This morning and last week also.
Okay,
Do you remember what day last week, Jim?
It's either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Maybe there's a rhythm to first of the week.
Yeah. And
Maybe there's a rhythm to first of the week.
did you tell me what it was, performance or something on the trailer?
It was in red letter, remember that up above the trailer, performance.
food group, maybe.
Is there a group performance? That's what it was.
Okay.
It was on the side. It's the only thing that was on the trailer. Is on the side of it.
Okay.
They were,
Was it a tractor and trailer?
Yes.
Okay.
And I looked again and there's no way you could get a fire truck between them and
What time this morning did you go by there, Jim? What time did you see it?
7 o'clock this morning.
Oh,
Last
late.
week it was 6.
Okay, early.
Well, that's when I'm taking that kid to school and that's the only reason I'm saying it. I couldn't do it last week and then this morning there it said again.
Okay.
They told my kid she didn't need to come back to school for the rest of the year. They said she's done.
oh, wow.
Now, we still need to bring up some
You're
what
good.
we talked
Yeah.
about,
Don't come back.
pedestals.
I think that's going to be a given anyway, that part of this and on their design is to put in bollards, decorative bollards or something across that property line to prevent the trucks from doing that.
Or Yeah, or screening or
Or-
something. Yeah.
Yeah, something to prevent the trucks from crossing over or getting into that. So, yeah. And I think that's just gonna be part of the plan. I assume that that's something you guys will approve or something of that nature.
And do we have does the fire department have a sign out by the entrance?
I
that
think it says,
states-
it says Riley Station. Oh, I don't. think
I mean, there is
an-
a,
I
there
don't
is
think
a
there
fire
is.
department
I
sign,
don't
but
think there
is there,
a.
No, there's not anyone that says do not block or anything like that.
Or no trucks.
or no trucks
something
Yeah,
or
no.
fire station access
They
only,
typically don't.
or they
On a
don't read
daily
any.
basis, They don't pay attention.
And they
to
don't
those
read
burning
anyway, so.
unless y'all are More discerning group of truck drivers.
Right.
I mean,
No,
to
they're the
me,
same ones.
it's pretty serious.
Greg, there
You
is. He
wanna
walked
block,
Well, what I need,
fire
Oh, I-
truck or ambulance.
I can't believe
Yeah.
a truck driver would be
Is his
that,
slips moving?
That's three I
Greg.
know of.
that would even do that in the first place. But
I don't know
number
if he is or
two
not.
is whoever those employees are that early in the morning need to have the intestinal fortitude to tell them to move your truck.
yeah. I'm also will bring it to the police department's attention. So that if they see one down in there to get
Well,
them
this one's
moved.
a little different. Instead of backing into it, he took the semi and come down that, the sharp 90,
Mhm.
once you come in that road. And they had pulled the tractor up right against the building, because it's still stuck across
Yeah.
the entrance and exit road. That's the only entrance and exit road only.
Well, I'll make sure the police department's aware of it and keeps up with that as well. And tells them to move them on if they do pull in there. Like I said, that does block emergency vehicles and that can't happen.
Absolutely.
No, I would think that somebody had to be liable if there was to be a fire, they couldn't get the fire.
I'm
truck
sure they would, yeah.
Or ambulance call.
I think we've lost Greg, guys.
Nope,
Oh,
I'm here.
We were here debating.
Very still.
Wow, that's amazing.
I'm just listening, waiting for my turn.
I'm gonna start going by there, with my eyes closed.
Think, anything else?
No, sir.
Any other questions?
I guess one other thing, Chip, and obviously we got to figure out the loading dock thing, but provided that, that gets figured out, do you got an idea what Josh's schedule's like and like when we actually may see paper
My
on a
goal
conditional use?
is to have it next month.
Okay.
Okay. Any other business, John?
No, sir.
Greg?
Let me tell you guys, I told you I would, and I did talk to Calvert Cafe about their, we were all trying to figure out what the request was. Somebody had requested an outdoor freezer and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I talked to the owner a couple of weeks ago, and actually they never requested that because they were just getting started with their business. And when they came up to get their conditional use, or not to get their zoning compliance certificate, came up to City Hall to get the zoning compliance certificate, John told them that they would need
Floodplain,
I don't remember, John, a conditional use permit or something.
floodplain permit.
Okay, well, whatever the permit was, they were going to have to get a survey done, or at least measure to their property lines and file an application. And at the time, she said they didn't have the time, and I think they thought it was going to be a more difficult process than it really was going to be. And she didn't want to spend the money, and she didn't want to go through the trouble right then of making applications. So they never actually requested permission to do that. And that's why they didn't get one, is because they never asked permission. They still have it. They bought one and it's still there, and they still want to put it up, but they just never have gotten around to requesting permission to do it.
We know a good
They're gonna
lawyer.
let us be the first ones to have.
I say, we know a good lawyer they can use if they need one.
Actually heard that they bought the pizza.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. If nothing else, take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. And we are adjourned at 5:50 and we're come off live, so give it a moment.
Very good. All right, guys.